early on. I think that's one of the keys for him. And yeah, balancing out the passing stats. Like, you look, if you didn't know anything about what happened the first two games, and you looked at Trey Ford's stat line, completion percentage in the 70s, good yardage, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, say he's off to a great start. But it's so heavily weighted to when those games have been out of reach. Live reps are the only way to develop, and yet, you know, these games matter. So it's a real balancing act for the Elks.
You know, as we mentioned, though, this isn't all on Trey Ford right now. I mean, defensively, this team has not been great whatsoever. Britt mentioned it. No INTs, no forced fumbles so far this season. I mean, they need to step up and give their QB some help.
Yeah, listen, all of their starters in that D-line are all former Toronto Argonauts. And so you would think...
You know them well.
I do. I play against them. And they have done pretty well in the past. But for whatever reason, they don't seem to be on the same page so far this year. You have Robbie Smith, you have Brinkman, you have Serezna, you have Barlow as well. They are the ones who are supposed to provide the pressure for opposing quarterbacks, and they haven't done that quite enough yet this year because they were supposed to be the guys that were supposed to get the ball to Trey Ford as often as they can, and they haven't done that this year yet. So they have to also turn it up this week so far, so that this team can start to get rolling.
Yeah, it was an interesting approach from Edmonton's management in the offseason. You know, they're trying to develop Trey into their franchise quarterback, and they didn't go out and spend a ton of money on offensive talent around it. They went and spent it on the defensive side of the ball, hoping that that would take some pressure off him to have to make hero plays because the games would be close. Well, we're going into the game tonight. The Edmonton Elks are averaging giving up 34.5 points a game. They're playing a team that's leading the league at 17 points a game. So if they're going to keep this one close, Edmonton's defense is going to have to step up.
Yeah, it doesn't look great on paper, does it, tonight?
It does not.
No, it certainly does. But you know what? It's the CFL, and we know that absolutely anything can happen. And you know what? You're right. Defensively, I mean, maybe it will just take some time to gel, too. I mean, it is super early in the season. We tend to overreact. But honestly, I just think it's so awkward sometimes. Speaking of awkward, how about the handshake? What are we doing here, Coach? And funny enough, they got this on camera. This is Enoch and I coming into studio today. I went for that. Nope. No. Dave doesn't even care.
I missed it all. I missed it all.
What are you breaking trades over there?
The vibes are high in Winnipeg tonight, and why wouldn't they be? Scrambler strikes early, and the Bombers open it with a bang. Welcome to the Canadian Football League, Matthew Pearson. Look who it is, Zach Collaros back at the helm. Dalton Schoen with the touchdown, the 200th of Zach Collaros' illustrious career. Drops it off, and it's caught. Look at this.
Through week Week 3 in the CFL, the Blue Bombers are ranked as the second-best defense in the league behind, of course, the Montreal Alouettes. The Bombers have led the league in each of the last 5 seasons in points allowed per game, off to a tremendous start, particularly because of their DBs. With more on that, here's Glenn Suter.
Yeah, Kate, when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lost Tyrell Ford in free agency to Edmonton, he makes his return here tonight to Winnipeg. And then Brandon Alexander and the team parted ways. There was a lot of people that were concerned that the secondary may take some time to gel as this season and this journey began. Well, it's been anything but that. I mean, with Brandon Alexander gone and with Tyrell Ford now with the Edmonton Elks, it hasn't seemed to stop this defense. These DBs are making plays. The guy that replaced Tyrell Ford was basically Marquise Bridges at the corner. The BC Lions in 2 games have gone after him to try and test the young corner, inexperienced, but a very good cover guy, and he has come up with 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions for him. Evan Holm, I heard you guys talk about him earlier, one of the fastest, if not the quickest recovery DBs in the league, closing that space. He's got his first pick. And then you talked about Brandon Alexander, different player for Jamal Parker. He's played halfback, he's played corner. They moved him to safety this year, and Jamal Parker had a scoop and score against the BC Lions and that acrobatic interception you just saw. So there was a lot of concerns that one of the weaknesses of this team could be the secondary coming into this season. It's been anything but that. They are the strength of this defense right now, Kate.
From defense to offense, in Zach Collaros' top touchdown receiver since entering the league back in 2012. Collaros has thrown 201 career touchdown passes for 4 different teams. Those 201 touchdowns have been spread across 45 different targets, with current teammate Nick Dembski, who is in tonight, by the way, leading the way with 25. He still has a long way, though, to catch Anthony Calvillo, who has the record at 455. With more on one of Zach's favorite targets this season, here's Takia Singh.
You can't sleep on a team that's been to 5 straight Grey Cups. The Bombers are off to a hot start with a young receiver that appears ready to steal the spotlight as the playmaker. With number 88 on his back as a nod to Dallas Cowboy great Michael Irving, Carrick Wheatfall has exceeded all expectations with a team-high 11 catches for 213 yards and a touchdown through Winnipeg's first 2 wins.
Looking deep, down the field, drops it in at the 5, touchdown, Strickler strikes again. It's Carrick Wheatfall.
After dominating the Lions defense in back-to-back weeks with 2 different starting quarterbacks, Wheatfall will get the opportunity to build on his chemistry with veteran Zach Collaros on Thursday Night Football. Collaros was 6 for 6, targeting Wheatfall in Winnipeg's Week 3 win over BC. Now they'll face an Elks defense that's allowed 320-plus passing yards in each of Edmonton's first 2 losses. The Bombers, Alouettes, and Riders are a combined 8-0 straight up and against the spread, entering Week 4 with Winnipeg back at full strength and a dynamic new playmaker in the spotlight. The Bombers are expected to stay hot as FanDuel's biggest favorite of the season to date on Thursday Night Football.
Ideal to start a season 0-2. There were some positives for Edmonton in their first game versus their second. Case in point, Curly Gittens Jr. His first game was a rough outing, but his second, he had 95 yards receiving and 1 TD. Recently, our Matthew Shinetti sat down with Curly to talk about Edmonton, him becoming a veteran in the league, and a friendship with a fellow receiver on a rival team.
Who is the best Canadian receiver right now?
End zone, touchdown! A welcome home for Curly Gittens Jr.
That's a great question.
Well, I'm putting you on the spot.
Big catch. Curly Gittens goes up and rips it down.
If we're going from off a body of work, I put myself up there.
Down the field looking for Gittens, goes up and gets it. Oh boy, a beauty.
Do you consider yourself a vet now? Like when you think about everything you've been through, all the experiences you've had, like where are you in your career at this moment?
Just being around the guys, I try to keep myself young. You know, obviously I know I'm still young. I still kind of want to, you know, be, in a sense, like just open-minded and just, you know, still willing to learn, which I am, and not putting too much pressure on, you know, being the OG or being the vet, because I still think I got so much to learn about, the game of football, just the game of life in general.
What are you chasing now?
I'm chasing just to be great every single day, just consistency, consistent greatness.
That greatness is already being recognized. I saw your Hall of Fame speech for Laurier.
I never thought when I started playing football anything like this would be possible. This is a surreal moment.
What did you feel when you got that call?
It still hasn't hit me, to be honest with you. I don't even know when it's going to hit me. It felt a little bit like a relief at that level. All the sacrifices, all the hard work that I put in just to, help my team and just, be the football player that I'd be proud of to help me get to this point in my life. I'm never satisfied with being where I am. Yeah, we won a Grey Cup 2 years ago, but that was 2 years ago. And I'm on a new team right now, and I got hurt 2 years ago. So a whole bunch of factors are, motivating me to push myself and, to show that I can be great. It wasn't just for a 3-year span or whatever it is, And I don't want to be considered just one of the best Canadian receivers. I don't want to be put in the box of just being a Canadian receiver. I want to be put in the box as one of the best receivers in the CFL.
Reggie Pendleton! Oh my goodness, are you kidding me?
For example, Reggie came to train with us. He's been in the league longer than I have, and like you said, I consider a vet now. But I don't consider myself. When I'm around older guys, I give their, respects, and I'm always willing to take criticism.
You could tell that he wants the success, and he just needs the answers to the test. And he was one of those guys that was willing to reach out for those answers, and I'm always willing to give those answers.
What is it about someone like Reggie? I think about everything that he has seen, winning a championship early in his career, like you did, going through, admittedly, difficult times and a bit of adversity now with the Stampeders. And especially last year, he owned a message where he said, basically publicly and to the team, this isn't good enough. When you look at a guy like that, even when you're still trying to learn in your mid to late 20s, what does he offer you? Like, why maybe is it important to build those relationships with guys that you still look up to, even though you've accomplished a lot in this league?
Experience and his mindset, like how he goes about dealing with those things. And we chatted a little bit, and his thing was, he's here to work, like he comes, he want to have fun and all that, fun stuff. But for him, it's a business, and he knows what it takes to win because he's won before.
I train with multiple NFL guys. Multiple NFL guys. I see the work ethic. I hear the language of elite. Once you continue to be around that kind of circle, it naturally is instilled in you. You can see the hunger that he has. He just needs the opportunity to put himself in the best positions to expand his game.
One of the ones that's really putting that work in for Canadian, bro. You gotta feed me the ball, that's all it is. You already know what it is. You know football.
Are there any young Canadian receivers who are coming up, whether they're in youth sports right now or guys in the league, who you're playing the role that Reggie plays with you?
I know a few, especially, from my university. His name is Ethan Jordan. He's very talented. He broke some of my receiving records at Laurier, so, he's definitely a receiver to look out for. I feel like he's going to have a successful career if he just, keeps doing what he's doing and just trusting the process. Anyone they know, they can always reach out to me if they want to. I'm right around the corner. I'm always working, and they're always welcome. So for me, it's just put myself out there like, hey, I don't got no ego. If you want to work with me, you know where I'm at, and the gym's always open.
Well, this is a discussion we never really want to have. Week 4 of the CFL season. It's how many starting quarterbacks are injured and what are their statuses. So let's start with Nathan Rourke in BC. We know he's dealing with that oblique injury. What's the latest?
Nathan Rourke today at practice was doing some light tossing, but did not participate at all in team drills. And another kind of indication, and it hasn't been ruled out by Buck Pierce, the head coach, but one of the indications that he's unlikely to play, they split the rest of the reps between Jeremiah Mazzoli and Chase Bryce, which would suggest that Nathan Rourke's not going to play, but we'll wait and see. Let's
go to Montreal now. Davis Alexander. And look, that injury was obvious with the hamstring, but where's he at?
Yeah, Davis Alexander did not practice at all this week. He has been ruled out for the game. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, who, of course, came on relief against the Edmonton Elks last week. He will get his first start. as in Montreal.
And as we said, too, I mean, watching this injury, it's so obvious what is wrong. He's actually, like, holding on to the hamstring. So I think that this was a little shocking when in Saskatchewan we get the news that Trevor Harris all of a sudden is injured. What is the latest on him?
Yeah, Trevor Harris was held out of practice yesterday in concussion protocol. He was a full participant today in Regina. Now, it was one of those closed practices, so we couldn't see what was going on. But in fact, he was a full participant coming out of protocol, would suggest that there's an opportunity for him to play. But Corey Mace, their head coach, said afterwards he would have to watch the tape.
That was it. So that's it. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't think he was watching this particular play, and you can see that that's obviously not what you want to see happen to your quarterback. But I guess watching tape at practice is one thing you do, and then the last one is obviously Drew Brown in Ottawa. Will we see him anytime soon?
Yeah, he's got kind of that oblique hip pointer injury, and this is one that they're concerned about, that if you play before you fully recovered, it's an injury that you have the chance of really exaggerating and making worse. They're playing the long game here. They were really happy with how Dustin Crum did at Calgary in those adverse conditions, so he will get the start for them on
Can we really judge of how anyone played in Calgary, though, with 55-kilometer winds and rain coming right at you?
I'd say it'll be easier to throw the football Sunday in the nation's capital.
Let's just say, too, that conditions quite nicer in Winnipeg tonight. Coming up after the break, Britt is standing by with Willie Jefferson.
This is Trey Ford's team.
He is officially Edmonton's #1 QB. Back to throw, intercepted. Ford pressured again. They've been relentless tonight.
He has to play to get better. That's what people don't understand. The season is young. His career is young. He's got to make a statement.
End zone, intercepted. Ford wants to load up, loses the ball as he's taken down.
Not the start for their young quarterback, Trey Ford, that they had hoped for.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the numbers have been good for Trey Ford, but he hasn't looked comfortable yet this season. Bomber fans hoping that trend continues tonight, and so does one Willie Jefferson. Here he is with Britt.
Willie, your team off to a great start, 2-0 to start the season. What are you liking from this group so far?
Just the intensity. The attention to detail, how everybody wants to play for each other. We want to play for our fans. You know, the last couple home games we've been having sold-out crowds and things like that. So the energy is right here, right? You know what I'm saying? We want to play for our teammates. We want to play for the fans, and we just want to go out here and play Winnipeg football.
Well, you know Edmonton's going to be hungry for their first win of the season. What do you have to do to try to contain Trey Ford tonight?
Just try to get to him early and often. Take away his first read and try to make him be a quarterback in the pocket, right? You know what I'm saying? We know he can get out the pocket and make some plays with his legs as long as we can get to him early, make him stay in the pocket and contain him. We have a good day.
Well, I know you're still looking for your first sack of the season. It'd be career number 75 if you do get it tonight. What kind of celebration could we anticipate if you do get it?
Celebrate with my teammates, right? That's something that, you know, we preach here in Winnipeg. Got to celebrate with our teammates. I got my little girls here. You know, I got in trouble last week, so I might do a little something for them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Willie.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Okay, Willie, you know I absolutely adore you, but there is no chance if you get your first sack of the season that you're not celebrating. And, you know, I'll give Willie this, too. He was, you know, going through the crowd. He was saying how great the fans are. But we're seeing this.
Yeah, he's not going to be with his teammates.
If he gets a sack, we all know it.
He's not going to be with his teammates.
Okay, quickly, this defense, though, and we're going to stop doubting them. We have this year, too. But even with all the players that they lose each and every year, this is such a consistently great D.
They have been consistent. They have been consistent from the start of the season. We always talk about the Montreal Alouettes as being one of the best defenses in this league right now, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are dominant defensively speaking. Yes, we know about their offense and Zach Collaros and how he can play and how he can take the game over. But this defense has been performing to a high level. Glenn was already talking about the DBs, but I love Tony Jones at the middle of that defense, who came in, and we talk about it all. Adam Bighill leaves. Tony Jones comes. Who is this guy? But he is leading this team, and he's doing a great job. He always racks up the tackles, and he communicates extremely well. And, of course, we got Willie J, who is always a nightmare to these quarterbacks.
You know, the Bombers on offense, some of the names and faces change, but the formula stays the same. Physical up front, run the football, set the tone early, even without Brady Oliveira. And then it feels like every season, a new receiving star emerges in Winnipeg. Remember Dalton Schoen out of nowhere? Bang, right? Ontario Wilson, bang, right? Carrick Wheatball, bang, right? Every year, you look at that depth chart and say, well, I wonder what that guy's going to do. And you see the explosion already happening. Wheatball leading them in receiving. So much of what Winnipeg has done to be successful in the past, we see repeating. Of course, Zach Collaros being the consistent.
Well, Enoch, I was going to say that, too. One of the first things that you mentioned when we were in BC last weekend was the fact how aggressive Zach came out, too. And I'm sure sitting there the first week and having to watch his team play, too. I mean, tonight, do you expect the exact same from Collaros?
Absolutely expect the exact same, if not even more, Kate. I see this team, as they've heard all of us talking about the last few years and them getting to the Grey Cup and them losing and all of that. Zach Collaros seems to have a high level of focus this year, and he already missed one game, only gave him even more motivation to even perform at a higher level. I mean, we know how dominant they've been, but this year they seem to be saying the Grey Cup is in our backyard, and we will not only be there, but we will take it. And this is a great start for this Winnipeg Blue Bomber team, Dave.
No, it absolutely is. And you think of it last year, the 0-4 start, all of the doubt, and yet you looked up to the end of the season, and there where they were, almost methodically over the course of the season. This year, the tone is much stronger, and as I say, you got to know that having that Grey Cup in their backyard and the chance to avenge what's happened the last several, that's the motivation.
By the way, I really thought about it in the preview show, too, because I'd say 3 years ago, we're like, okay, they're getting too old. This is going to happen again. And then last year, we were like, oh, no, maybe they're all right. This year, all of us said, you know what, the Bombers are going to be just fine. We have learned our lesson on this panel. We've got the Elks, we've got the Bombers. It's Thursday Night Football, kicking off week number 4. Kickoff coming up.
We don't take L's, we give them out. We pumped up, ready to take them out. We on fire, no one can put us out. We do it for the win and we do it for the clout. Now shout, throw your hands up and wave. Set the stage ablaze.